Welcome to Hook Connections. As I say every week, we have a great guest on this week too. Gina Scott is my co-director, my co-host, and Gina is with Star Media. She takes care of everyone's social media and makes sure that everything's up to play. She also does graphic design art and website designs. And I'm Barbara Hook with Hook Connect, where we connect you to those honest service providers and contractors. And today we have with us Scott Jeske from American Bancard, Advanced Bancard Solutions. And Scott is going to talk to us about something that everyone needs to be very aware of. All of the banks. You may have already received one of your credit cards in the mail, but all of the banks and all retail establishments are going to have to be able to use chipped credit cards as of October 1st. You know, when you sent me all your information, you talked about EMV. What exactly is EMV? And just tell us a little bit about it and how, what do we need to be aware of? What does the consumer need to be aware of?
Sure, thanks, Barb. EMV was developed by Europay, MasterCard, and Visa, EMV. This organization was created to help the global initiative to combat fraud. They defined a set of security standards for credit card and debit card transactions. Let's first discuss how EMV has helped reduce fraud. EMV utilizes a chip that is embedded inside the credit card, as you indicated. I think you've received one or two, but we're all going to be receiving these credit cards. These chip cards are also kind of referred to as smart cards. You'll hear people say smart cards. They're smart because they can generate a unique or a dynamic value on the card itself. It's encrypted into the chip. The chip is also known as a microcomputer chip or even a microprocessor chip. The chips are extremely difficult.
How does that little chip know? I mean, how does anyone know that little chip is mine?
Well, because it's on your credit card.
I realize that.
And it has been identified and associated with you.
Okay.
Remember that the credit card company knows who you are.
Right.
When they give you that card, just like the magnetic strip on the back, it knows that it's Barb.
So just out of curiosity, will all of our cards know? I mean, are all of our cards going to use a similar number?
No, it will be a random number, and I will explain here in a few minutes how that random number happens. But the reason that the chip cards are very valuable in our industry is that the chips are extremely difficult to tamper with, and they're virtually impossible to clone.
So nobody's going to make a copy of your credit card, and it's not likely that somebody's just going to be able to see your credit card and use it.
That's correct. So in today's environment, we still have the magnetic strip. So you will notice when you receive your new chip credit card, it's still going to have the magnetic strip on the back of it, because some businesses won't be ready yet before this October 1st date, which we'll talk about later on. And in turn, gas stations and bank machines are still going to utilize the magnetic strip part of it. And matter of fact, gas stations or filling stations aren't required to upgrade their terminal until October 2017. So we're still going to be using...
how long it's been since I've heard the word filling
station. So we're still going to be using the magnetic strip, and then we're going to be using the new chip going forward at some point in time.
Okay. Wow. So you're saying all these new cards will have this strip on the back?
That's correct.
The magnetic strip.
Correct.
So, and they're going to have a chip on the front. What if the credit card company doesn't get you your credit card with the new chip on it by October 1st?
Well, you're still going to be required or capable of using the magnetic side of it.
Okay.
And when we talk with Gina about the business impact of it, we'll describe why there's a value of magnetic versus the chip reader.
Okay.
But a lot of people have asked, is the United States, first to adopt this new chip technology?
Right.
And in fact, France adopted this new chip technology back in 1992.
Wow.
So it's been around for a while. Many of the European countries have been using the chip technology for quite some time.
And is that where Europay comes from, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the question is, well, why is it taking the U.S. so long to adopt? Well, they're stating that we're going to have roughly 270 million new chip cards that are going to need to be distributed by October 1st.
Wow.
A lot of cards. The U.S. is clearly the largest consumer of credit cards in the world.
So just a question. You may not know this answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What if your credit card comes in the mail
Mm-hmm.
and someone else knows all these credit cards are coming out and knows all this stuff is coming out because they're watching you on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and they tamper with your mail?
Well, and that can happen just like it has before the chip, right?
Right.
So when you get that card, you're required to call an 800 number, right?
To activate
And
it.
there's usually a security type of information that the card issuer, the credit card, requires to activate that card. So that's still going to be in place.
Okay. So, and how does the chip? How will the chip, or does the chip actually help reduce fraud?
Yeah, so keep in mind, we're going to talk about a card-present environment. That's where you physically hand the card and it's presently in your hand, right? So when that card is presented, it's going to be placed in the terminal, right? The terminal will know the initial information on that card, or this unique identifier. You're going to leave the card in the terminal. You're going to process the transaction. Once the transaction has been approved, then the terminal will write a new number on the card. When you go to the next place of business, you're going to insert that card. It will be able to verify that the new number exists and that it's a valid card. So that's why these
So
fraudulent
it's not going to be a swipe thing anymore. Then it's actually going to be sitting in a machine until after it's all over and done with. And
That's
then
correct.
Every time you use that card, it gets a new number sent to the chip.
That's correct.
Holy
so therefore,
cow, that's complicated.
these folks that are creating these fraudulent credit cards, it's virtually impossible to know what the next number is going to be. Mm-hmm. So that's the benefit. When they adopted this in Europe, and again, France being the leader, they wanted to get some statistical results on how well this card technology is actually working. France has stated that since 2005, their counterfeit fraud has gone down by 98%.
Wow.
And even Canada has said that their fraud has been decreased by 73%. So it works.
Wow.
You know, there's results that saying that this chip technology does work in a card-present environment.
Wow, that's really different. Scott, but there are going to be some listeners, because you're going to be on the radio for the next week at I think it's 8 o'clock Monday through Friday. So if you would, could you just verbally tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, both your name, phone number, and an email address maybe, so people can reach out to you if they have questions or they need to update their credit card processing?
Yes, my email address is scott@advancedbancard.com. My cell phone number, because I prefer everybody to contact me directly by cell phone, is 317-601-6047.
All right, and we are going to take a short break, and then Gina will ask him some questions the next segment, and we will be right back.
welcome back to Hook Connections. We are here with Scott Jeske of Advanced Bankcard Solutions. And in the last segment, we were talking about this October 1 date. Can you tell me more about what's going to exactly happen on October 1st?
Sure. So it's October 1st of this year, and it is to business owners known as the liability shift date. And that's because this is the date that the liability of a particular transaction is going to shift to the burden of the owner if it becomes fraudulent or is determined to be fraudulent.
The owner of the business.
The owner of the business. So it's very important that business owners understand the impact of and the value of this date.
Okay.
So you're saying that in essence, if somebody is committing fraud with the card that they're trying to use, that it is now the business owner's decision whether they want to, take that chance.
True. We talked earlier that all of us should have new cards by October 1st. That's the plan. I am confident that somebody on October 1st is going to want to make a purchase. And they're going to say, I have not received my new card yet. And the business owner should have a plan in place on how to handle that part of the transaction. So there's a lot of value there, especially when we talk about who's on the other side of the counter, the sales clerk.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of young people in the workforce, and you don't want the decision to be put into their hands. So some of the decisions that should be part of their plan is, well, what's the value of the transaction? Because, again, if the card is determined to be fraudulent and it's reported, the business owner is going to have to pay for the reimburse that money. So if I own, say, a business, and I sold
that transaction at their location
transaction
only.
That's correct. So if I sold some goods and say it's $100 worth, and I made a decision to take a magnetic stripe transaction after October 1st, and it becomes fraudulent, I have to reimburse the card issuer, the credit card, the $100.
Wow.
So also keep in mind, I've also lost out now on my profit that I was going to make, and profits keep us in business.
Yeah.
And third, now I lost inventory. So, it's
Right.
kind of like a triple whammy, if you will, on the value of that.
Now, after October the 1st, is it going to cost a business more to run a transaction with this magnetic card versus the chipped card?
The actual cost, the answer is no.
Okay.
Business owners are going to have to upgrade their systems, though, to be able to read the new chip processors. Yeah.
Okay, so if businesses or anybody wants more information or wants to learn, more about this, then they can consult with you?
Correct.
Okay.
Because each business is different. So, for instance, my dentist, when I had the same conversation with him, it was, well, I know all my customers. I know all my patients. Why should I be worried if it's fraudulent or not? I know who they are. That's very true. But think about the number of businesses that they don't know their customers. Right? So the bottom line is there's still risk.
Yeah.
There still can be a fraudulent card involved in a transaction, whether you know the person or not.
Right.
So the training really needs to be put on the emphasis of the business owner, because, again, the person on the other side of the desk that's taking the credit card. So business owners need to create a plan.
And will you help them, those businesses, if you're actually their account executive for their credit card processing, will you help them train their employees on how to use that?
I can give them some advice.
Okay.
I can give them some examples. I can lead them to websites.
Okay.
I'm certainly not an expert in all the different types of businesses that are around,
Right.
but I can lead them in the right direction. And some of it is really specific to their business and what amount of liability do they want. When that transaction happens on October 1st or after, they should look at the value of the transaction. Is it a $10 item? Maybe they just do the magnetic stripe transaction, let it happen. Is it $100? Is it $250? Is the customer maybe uneasy? They look a little nervous. What are they buying? Does it look a little odd? That, here we are after October 1st and they're buying $250 of something. So there's got to be an awareness program that's put into place as well. I would really advise business owners to put in a plan that maybe allows for management to be involved. So train your staff, help educate them on what's going to happen. But more importantly, when this event happens, maybe a manager is required every single time to come to the register and authorize that strike.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, if it's fraudulent, it's coming out of the business
Well, you know,
owners.
it's really scary because I, on the back of my credit cards, write ask for ID. And I will, if it's not an automatic card swipe at the machine, I will hand my credit card to people and they will go ahead and scan it and not ask me for ID, and I refuse to sign it.
True. I can almost guarantee you, certainly if it's one of my clients, advise them to always ask for ID today, but even more importantly, after October 1st on a magnetic stripe swipe. And not only ask for one,
Well, it's
ask
always
for two.
It's always wise for a business to ask for ID. I learned this from you because if it's a debit card and you turn it in as a credit card, it's actually going to cost that business more money for not knowing their address or their zip code, or isn't that the case, or am I
Well,
backwards?
there's some variables
Yeah,
on that,
yeah.
not exactly, but you always want to know your customer.
Right.
You always want to know, and I would ask for 2 IDs. You know, the fraudulent people out there, they're smart,
Yeah.
right? They know the state's coming,
Right.
so they're going to be very aggressive, and maybe even taking purses and wallets because they know this window is very small.
So I have a question. I buy a lot of my supplies and stuff off of eBay.
Yeah.
And so if I'm doing an electronic transaction, how does that work?
So that's a card not present environment. There's a lot of changes that are going to be coming in the industry for card not present. And those rules are being established, and they're kind of coming and filtering down. But I can almost assure you that if we thought buying something online today was challenging with the amount of information we have to enter, expect to enter even more. They
Wow.
want to know who their customer is.
Sure.
The other question is, on our smartphones and contactless cards, they're already part of the EMV program, so
Okay.
you're safe and you're good to go there.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to thank our sponsors, Logan Street Signs and Banners and the Wofford Theater, for allowing us to be here. We are going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a moment with segment 3.
Enjoy the commercial.
Yeah.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Hook Connections. For anybody that missed the first 2 segments and you need to learn more about that October 1st deadline date for businesses and how it's going to affect your business, you plan to come to the Indy Momentum Networking event, which is at Scotty's Brew House at Southport Crossing on June the 3rd. Scott will actually be our 20 minutes or 30-minute speaker that event. It's a free event. The only thing we ask you to do is buy your lunch, and it's a really great place to have lunch. Now, Scott, when I first met you, I met you because I saw. I can't even remember the first time, but when I met with him the first time and we had a one-to-one meeting, we talked a lot. I saw him posting stuff about Scotty's balls on social media.
Right.
And so when he told me all about it, I thought, wow, this is just some business needs to really snatch these up and sell them that way as a gluten-free product. And tell us how it started, why it started, just to kind of tell everybody what it's all about.
Well, first of all, it's for fun, really, and even the website is kind of designed to be fun, and I've got T-shirts and different things, and they're for sale. But the whole development was from my daughter. She was having some stomach issues, and we couldn't really figure out why she would eat and then not feel good, not for one day, but 2 or 3 days later, she would have some issues. So we finally had a food allergy test done, and come to find out she's allergic to a lot of foods, including gluten. So it's technically called leaky gut syndrome. So when the food goes through the intestine, because she's allergic to it, the body is attacking the food. And when that happens, the intestines get inflamed, and then the gastric juices actually exit out of the intestine, and then the body attacks it. So the body is attacking itself, basically. So we found that out. We found that gluten was one of the main ingredients outside of garlic and soy. And can you believe how many items have garlic and soy in them?
Right,
Go home and look at anything out of your pantry. Both of those items are usually found. So our diet's really restricted. So when we found out that our daughter Olivia had this gluten intolerant, we grill out often, and hamburgers and hot dogs and different things. So I found myself making hamburgers, and our family would have the traditional bun, right? And she would just have the hamburger. And I would see her chop the hamburger up into bite-sized pieces, and then she chopped her pickle, and she chopped her tomato, and next thing you know, I see her kind of creating what I refer to as the perfect bite.
Right.
And I thought, well, I'll make it simple for her. I'll just ball up hamburgers, throw those on the grill. And long short of it, her friends would come over. They would want those because they were on a low-carb diet, something to try to lose weight. And they named them Scotty's Balls. So that's how Scotty's Balls kind of technically was created. And from there, then we've got really creative on the balls. And I'd roll them around in Parmesan cheese. I'd add some Cajun seasoning. Different spices, some ranch dressing.
I mean, you could probably even put like chopped onion and all kinds of stuff in it.
I do some
peppers
chopped onion, sure.
Yeah.
But the whole perfect bite is very true. You take a bite in a big cheeseburger, it's got all the goodies. Your tomatoes sliding off, your pickles sliding off, and you don't get the perfect bite. This way, it's the perfect bite.
So tell us, where can we find these?
Well, you can't really find them. You're going to create them yourself. I would like for someone to take the idea and put it on their menu. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then if they wanted then to utilize
like Scotty's Brewhouse would be a great location.
Would be a good one. Yeah. But then they could buy the domain name and tie it into their company website. And more restaurants are coming out with gluten-free menus.
Yeah, they are.
So this would it could be gluten-free, but there's a lot of people that are looking to reduce their carb intake.
And what a catchy name! I mean, you probably could make a killing if you get the name out there pretty well, with all
that
of that.
Would be fun.
So yeah.
That would be
Well,
fun.
and when you go to his website, when you go to Scotty's Balls website and you look at it and see how good all these perfect bites look, and they're all set on the plate with the mustard and mayonnaise and ketchup and all that all around it. I mean, what is that website? Just so people can go check it out.
Yeah, it's scottysballs.com. So it's COTTYSBALLS.com.
Right. And it shows, you got to go to the website and just check it out because it's, you could be so creative. You could put lots of things in it that had no gluten in them. You could put green peppers and mushrooms and
make teriyaki.
You could just do anything.
Wine.
We also throw or cook the portobello mushrooms on there. So sometimes, even if you're a vegetarian, then we serve that just kind of like the hamburger.
Yeah.
But I found myself chopping it up because a lot of restaurants sell hamburgers with mushrooms on top.
Right.
So here you're creating, again, your own personalized perfect bite.
Wow.
How funny.
So it is fun.
How funny.
Wow. Okay.
So where do you get the ideas for all the different flavors?
You know, you just get in the kitchen and you just kind of start talking ingredients. And my girls, Hannah and Olivia, both have friends that come over and they request Scotty's balls when we're cooking out by the pool. And so they come up with some good ideas on, different toppings to throw in there. And it's trial and error. I've tried a couple of different toppings. I put little chunks of cheese inside the meatball.
How'd that work?
It didn't work out. So the cheese melted, which is the idea, right? But there wasn't enough substance of the meatball itself, because you want the meatball to be bite-sized. It's not to be like a spaghetti meatball that you're going to chop up. It's designed to be pretty small.
Why couldn't you grill Scotty's balls and put like your own mushroom sauce over the top of them and serve them as an hors d'oeuvre?
You certainly could. I think it'd be a great appetizer when you go to the restaurant. And technically it's a shareable appetizer. You could get a dozen and have, 4 people. You're eating 3 balls. They come out with a little side of toppings, and it's shareable. So it's just we have fun with it.
Yeah.
Every time my girls' friends come over and they request them, we just make it a fun event.
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, that's fun.
So everyone needs to go check out scottysballs.com. Also check out, definitely come to his presentation that is going to be June the 3rd at Scotty's Brew House. Maybe we can have Scotty come down and watch the presentation too.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
Maybe they could change their credit card processing to you. Anyway, and if you need to get in contact with them, you can always reach out to me. This video will be on YouTube tomorrow morning, so you can actually go to the Hook Connect channel on YouTube and see this video. And we will be back next week. We have Tiffany Wessler. We may be on a little bit earlier next week. We may be some time change for our show. But Tiffany is going to be on our show from Eagledale Florist, and the entire show is going to be talking about why you should buy local. And I think that's real important because a lot of people don't buy local. We go out elsewhere to get our goods. So until next week, we hope you have a great day, and it's an amazing, beautiful day out there today.
See you next time.